So my name's Lindsey Mcdonald and I'm an employer liaison and projects officer within the careers team at UWS. So this session is around preparing for your future career. So some of you might have attended some of the previous sessions that the careers team delivered. And this is really about honing in on some of that learning and starting to really think about your future career. So we're covering things like action planning and goal setting. We'll also have some inspiring stories from our alumni. And Lindsey's going to cover career planning, and I'll let Lindsey introduce herself.
Thanks. Morning everyone, my name's Lindsey Mcdonald. I'm a careers advisor at UWS and I'm really looking forward to this session today because we've got some fantastic alumni speakers and you'll be able to hear a wee bit more about what happened to them when they were at university, but also how it's impacted on their career plans in the future. So we hope you enjoy this session today. We have a few questions, interactive things that hopefully you'll get involved with, and there's probably a good enough group for us to have quite a good conversation about things today. So look forward to the session. Thank you.
Okay, so a wee bit of background about the careers team. So the careers team are here to support you throughout your journey at UWS. We provided advice and guidance for students around career planning, which Lindsey is going to cover this morning to help you kind of start on that as the next steps after you complete today's session. We also provide support for accessing internships, work placements, graduate opportunities, and we also have a range of initiatives as well. So we work closely with industry. We've got an employer mentoring programme, which current students can engage with mentors from industry. We have a volunteer recognition award. We work closely with Bright Network. We also have an employability aspire award. So if you attended the previous session around making the most of your time at university, or if you want to listen to that recording, you'll be able to find out more about some of those opportunities as well. And if you do have any questions about that at the end of the session, myself and Lindsey will be happy to answer some of those questions. Okay, I'm just waiting to go on to the next slide now. Okay, some of the learning from today's session is that you'll be developing knowledge in effective career planning and practice. You will also gain an insight into graduate routes to employment, and you'll also be exploring the future of work, skills and sector developments. And you'll develop your knowledge and understanding for effective goal setting. So as you commence your journey at UWS, you'll be reflecting on a lot of your academic studies, but also your employability skills. So attending this session today and the previous session, this is a first step to you starting that process of career planning. There'll be various assessments and coursework that you'll undertake. You might undertake work-related learning or work-based learning modules. Some of our speakers and some of our graduate stories highlight the benefits in getting involved in some of these things at UWS. So this is all about you helping getting industry experience and preparing for your future career.
Thinking about things. The slide's really just to get you thinking about your career plans for the future. Career planning's not something that is huge, that needs to take a lot of time. It can be small little bite-sized steps that can help you get to where you want to be in the future. But students and graduates need to be ready for the future job market because things can change so rapidly. And as you can see from even the last 18 months, everyone's had to think and work in a very different way because of the pandemic, and those things were unexpected. And that's probably why you do need to think about career planning as you progress through your degree, but also when you progress through your work as well. And if you listen to Lindsey and I, when we talk about our career histories, ours are kind of like this image here, a windy road. Okay, we didn't go straight from one job to the other. We had different opportunities. We took on different roles, different experiences, different qualifications to get to where we wanted to be. And so that's what the big part about this today's session is thinking about the long term, the short term, and the immediate term goals. And that's something that we'll pick up later on when we factor in a wee bit about action planning. But career planning is important because it's a competitive job market. Doesn't matter which sector you're going into, which course you're doing, there's lots of people going to be applying for jobs. So you need to be aware of what's going on in the sector. You need to be aware of the networks and link into people and find out about what's going on in the skills sectors and things. And you need to be adaptable. I mean, we've seen that, as we mentioned, we're still doing online study in some cases, but we need to be adaptable to our career plans, to our career ideas. And that's important because career planning is not, everything's not set in stone. Your opportunities while you start your course, if you're in first year right now, your ideas, your knowledge and things will change as you progress through the degree, and your career plans may change as a result of the knowledge and experiences you've had throughout time at university. So that's important to remember, that adaptability for career planning will go throughout your time at university, but also beyond into the world of work and as you progress through your career until we retire, which, gosh, could be when we're in our 70s or 80s if things carry on. But the important thing is that no job is for life now. A lot of people will be maybe having 3 or 4 or 5 different career pathways throughout their time at university, when they're time in career, and so it's quite important to think about those things as you progress through. This is just a wee image to sort of think about career planning, and as I said, career planning is not something huge. It can be quite small and quite practical, and so it's not a big scary topic that some people think it is. But this image is quite nice because it gives you 5 stages of helping you to career plan. You can understand who you are, so you can think about, you made that decision to come to uni, now we need to learn and develop your knowledge, and then think about your skills and look at things you can do and get involved in while you're at university to progress. You've got research, and I mentioned that earlier, thinking about your skills, making choices, making applications, getting experience. But this isn't just a circle for things to do while you're at uni. This is something that you would take, and I can certainly vouch for it, I would take that into my work as well. And my career's been based around reflecting and looking at opportunities, making choices, applying for different experiences and qualifications, and it's led to me to where I am at the moment in a point of my career. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next slide is really sort of the top tips for career planning, and it hopefully will give you a sort of insight. Okay, this is just sort of top 5 practical tips to help you develop your career ideas while you're at university, and hopefully take it beyond into the world of work. So do think about your career plans early. I mean, you're in first year, or some of you may be third or second or third years, so you've got plenty of time to think about your career plans. And as I mentioned, things do change depending on what you've been involved in your course and other activities within university and your life in general. So your career plans will take that windy road, but that's okay, as long as you're carrying out the research, as long as you're maybe speaking to a careers advisor, coming along to employer networking events, reaching out to graduate fairs, getting involved in some of the activities that Lindsey mentioned earlier, such as the employability awards and the mentoring program. Lots of things that you can involve that can help you develop your skill sets, knowledge and experience. You can also set some tasks and action plans, and we will get that at the end, if we'll just go 5 minutes at the end, just to get you thinking about how to set yourself some goals. And these can be small. A lot of time action plans are small, medium and long term. So long term can be a 5-year or a 4-year plan, but the flexibility is there because of your medium and your short term goals can help you develop your skill sets and knowledge. Networking is a fantastic way to help with your career, networking with colleagues, friends, people on your course, and these will all allow you to develop knowledge about the sector that you're going into in the future. And the final one, top tip, get involved. Get involved in things at university. And as we move into the next slide, you'll see that there's quite a lot of things you can do out with your degree that are going to help develop your skill sets and employability. So this slide, things out with the there's other things out with the university degree that you can help to build your skill sets and knowledge. So I've highlighted a few here. You'll see that we've got the Careers and Skills Centre. There's some good website information there that you can access about career planning, some really information about your skill sets and reflecting on your skills and strengths. So there's lots of good resources there that you can access. But there's also other things like the Students' Association. They have lots of opportunities to join clubs and societies. Some of them will be degree related with your career, like the Marketing Society, but some of them will also be for fun, and sports societies as well. But the Student Union has also got positions of things like class reps and student ambassadors and things, where they're looking for students to get involved and make a difference to your student experience, and also help to develop those important employability skills that employers are looking for. So the Students' Association has some really great opportunities available on their website, and they've also got some access to clubs and societies as well. Lindsey mentioned earlier the Volunteer Recognition Award. So if you are involved in volunteering, you may be able to apply for the VRA to get recognition for this volunteering. And it's a great way to reflect on your skills and experience, and it will also allow you to get recognition through a certificate from the university to show that you've been involved in some extracurricular activities. We also have a UWS Employer Mentoring Program, which has allowed you a fantastic way to link with someone who's doing a job role that you want to do in the future. And that's students that have been involved in that have found it a really powerful process and positive, because they've been able to develop their skill sets, confidence and network for future job roles. There's also opportunities to do placements and internships, which are built in through your course. And the Careers and Skills website also has opportunities to find out more about industry insights, because we have various employers and coming and doing online webinars. We've also got our careers conversations, where you can start to develop your CV and skills and prepare for video interviews and go through the recruitment process. And we also advertise and promote other fairs like the Scottish Graduate Fair and stuff, which again help to give that sector information, help to develop your skills and your knowledge. So there's lots of things you can get involved in at university. And our very first session that we did last week was all in more detail about the different opportunities that I mentioned there. And we had some guest speakers from various students and graduates talking about what they did when they were at uni, and that recording's available in the Careers and Skills website as well. I'm going to hand over to Lindsey now, because instead of hearing everything from us.
So our alumni stories, this is the link that I had mentioned earlier, where you can access the success stories. So you can read about some of the alumni experiences. So what did they engage with when they were a student? So what are some of the activities, and what advice would they give to current students as well? So it's an interesting read. Have a look at the web page, and you'll be able to get some inspiration as well. And some of the stories that are across various different programmes of study as well, and we're gathering more of these throughout the academic year as well, so that there'll be more stories that will be going onto the page. So make sure that you do have a look at that. So Rebecca Johnston, who's an engineer with DXC Technology, she's kindly shared her story. So she has completed a graduate success story, which is available to read on the web page, so you can do a wee bit of further reading in your own time. But we just wanted to highlight this because Rebecca was supposed to be attending this morning's session, but she couldn't attend. So she's provided just some quotes and things that I could share within this morning's session. So Rebecca studied chemical engineering and then progressed on to a master's in chemical engineering. So she talks about the highlights of her time at UWS. So she engaged in an international experience where she spent a month in Linköping learning about innovation and entrepreneurship. So that's a Swedish summer school. So she was able to travel across abroad and obviously meet with students from other institutions as well, which she found really valuable. Talks about collaboration with fellow students, lecturers and external companies as well. So Rebecca did attend various insight sessions as part of her programme of study. And then after graduating, she started to look for graduate roles. She found an internship, so she spent a couple of months working in research and development with the department. She enjoyed this stepping stone into the world of work. So very often students will undertake internships during their time studying. Some students do a summer internship because obviously once they finish their academic year, you'll have that summer break. So some students decide to do it then, but there is also graduate internships as well, which a lot of organisations provide, and you can access that information through our Careers and Skills website, which we'll highlight to you later on within the session. And then Rebecca mentions that she then took on a position with a start-up company as well. So it was quite a small organisation, and she gained mentorship through staff that work there. So it's important to think about that as well. Is it a large organisation that you want to work for, or a small medium enterprise? And these are some of the decisions that you'll make throughout your career planning. And then that led to her gaining a graduate job with DXC. So as part of the graduate scheme, she was able to rotate around different departments and find out which one she really wanted to work in as a permanent role. So she started as a project manager after that, and I think having that project management skill set is something that Rebecca really wanted to highlight to students as well. You will undertake different projects, doesn't matter which degree you study. Some of that will be through your work-based or work-related learning modules. Some of them are mandatory modules within certain programmes, and some of them will be optional. So have a think about that when you're choosing your modules as well. And also Lindsey and colleagues within the careers team, the careers advisors, can actually help you with choosing some of those modules and finding out what's right for you. So that's just an example of Rebecca's experience, and just wanted to highlight that. So I've got Gordon who's just joined the call, so I'll go on to the next slide, and I'll just pause the recording just now so we can listen to Gordon Mcintyre talk about his experience. Okay, so just to introduce Gordon Mcintyre, who is an inspiring alumni from UWS. Gordon's kindly going to share his story with students about his experience as a student at UWS and some of the activities that he's engaged in, and what his next steps are now that he's graduated. Over to you, Gordon.
Thanks, Lindsey. Morning, everyone. Yeah, so as Lindsey said, my name's Gordon, and I'm just recently graduated just this year with a 2-1 in business technology from UWS. I started UWS part-time, so had been six years getting to this point, but well worth all the hard work and effort. I'm about to start a grad role at DXE Technology on Monday, as part of their, let me get this right, as part of their business stream and the analytics team. It's quite a mouthful, that that job title. But yeah, so it's a 2-year grad scheme, and then going on to a different, see where we get to at the end of the business, but full-time job. So really happy with that. So at UWS, like I said, I originally started part-time. So first and second year took me 4 years doing that, and it was the kind of latter half of second year when I really started engaging with the careers service. I remember, I think it was, no, I can't remember who it was, never mind. One of our classes, one of the members of the team came to speak to us, telling us about the importance of LinkedIn and building up your network and creating all your connections and all that kind of stuff. And that's after we had that, that's when I then set up my LinkedIn account and was just creating connections with everyone that I came across, whether it be people at the uni, peers at university, any kind of networking events that we were at, that we were going to, that they were put on by university and also our school as well. So I'm coming up to, as I said, graduating with almost 300 connections on LinkedIn, and that's over, just like I said, just creating all those different connections with all the different people that you come across. You never know when someone that you've had an interaction with is going to help you at some point in your future career. So LinkedIn's a fantastic tool, and if you don't have one already, strongly suggest that you start now, and start building those connections, because it makes things a lot easier if you do it now. You build it up gradually over time, and you cultivate a really good, well-rounded profile, instead of rushing at the last minute. In fourth year, you're trying to do all your really important exams and writing your dissertation and thinking about applying for grad jobs. But if you do everything kind of slowly over time, then that certainly helps. The kind of next thing I want to talk about is the mentoring scheme, which I took part in third year. I was paired with a digital forensics investigator from Morgan Stanley, which is as terrifying as it sounds. I'll be honest, I was absolutely terrified going into that big, huge building in town, going into that corporate environment, because I'd never been in that kind of environment before. I'd worked previously, but not that kind of big global financial institution that Morgan Stanley is. But my mentor put me right at ease straight away, and we got on really well and had meetings, I think maybe every month. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it was kind of cut short, and just we were corresponding via email towards the end of our time together. But it was a really rewarding experience, and it just made me feel like when I was doing my work for uni, everything was I was passing stuff and but I could never see myself in that kind of corporate environment. But being in that through the mentoring scheme was really helpful, and that's kind of what led me to my job that I'm starting on Monday, which I'll go into a wee bit later. So through that, gained a really big insight into the corporate world and how I can fit in that place during that module. During my mentoring, I applied for the Altair Program, one of Lindsey's favourites. I can see her nodding there, and one of the best experiences, the hardest experiences, but one of the best experiences of my life. And the support that I got from the careers team and Lindsey especially, writing and rewriting CVs and cover letters, it really prepared me for doing that for real, for when you're applying for grad jobs. And just that having someone at the careers team with experience that they have, looking over stuff and just picking out all the you're so invested in it that you don't see all the wee tiny mistakes and stuff like that. But Lindsey pointed out a few for me, which was fantastic. A bit more about the Altair program. So it's internship, a 10-week, and between 10 and 12-week internship, that is run by Strathclyde Business School, and companies not just in Scotland but all over the world will take on the interns for that 10 or 12-week period, and you really get such a fantastic insight of how these businesses work. I interned with Network Rail as a route support analyst, kind of dealing with data, and looking at how improvements could be made to the data that they were using. But it was just a fantastic experience, and being part of a group of people from all different backgrounds. I think there was 135 of us that went on to secure internships this year, and majority of them were remote, but there were some people that were down in London, they were down in northeast of England. So fantastic opportunity. So Lindsey will tell you all about that when it comes to the time. And I'm also taking on the role of brand ambassador as well for Altair. So if it's something that you wish to explore, you'll certainly see me at events doing different bits and pieces with that. I've also done a couple of bits of like the Aspire Awards, and Sizer I don't know, Lindsey, if you want me to go into much more detail. I'm not sure how long I've been talking for, but those opportunities have been able to, the Aspire Award especially, really prepared me for the applying for the grad jobs, because you're polishing your CV, you're looking at your LinkedIn profile, posting on LinkedIn, and like I said earlier on, I found that stuff quite easy because I had cultivated my profile over the last 4 years. So it's a really good award to get into. And CISA, that was run by SIE, who are no longer, but I'm afraid to say the uni are taking over running that, Lindsey, yeah. So that's, so you're going to, so that's something.
There'll be there's other student innovation awards that UWS are delivering for current students, but I think it's great that you've highlighted the fact that you've engaged in the Student Innovation Award, because that enterprise skill set is certainly something that a lot of graduate employers look for.
Yeah, so that was around about kind of sustainability and looking into the future, and how you can take an idea, apply a process to it, work with. I worked with students all over the country. It was great. I'm pretty sure someone was tuning in from abroad as well, because everything was all remote when we were doing it. So that kind of that gives us a flavour of working together as a team, to take an idea from an idea, work through this process, and come up with something at the end of it. So that was a fantastic process. And lastly, about my grad role, so moving on to my role at DXC. DXC was something, again, a company I found out about in second year, who it was through an event, speed networking event that our school run, with the SEP school, also with the support from the careers and skills team. They had lots of different companies coming in and speaking to us, and DXC being one of them, being the worldwide Fortune 200 company, who recruit quite heavily from UWS. There's quite a few of us starting in this year's cohort, which is really good. And created, I think I keep going on about this, but I created connections with people that I met at that second year, and those are the people I then saw again at the event again in third year and fourth year. You're seeing the same people, you're making yourself known, you're interacting with them. So if you have that connection when you first start, then it makes you make yourself known with the companies, and then think, oh, that's that guy I met when we did that speed networking. He's been interested in this company for quite a while. We'll look at see what we can hopefully employ him, which they did, which is great. So as I said, I'm starting the DXC on Monday. Can't wait to get started. It's been a long road, but well worthwhile through all the different things I've engaged with from the careers and skills team. They've been instrumental in getting me to where I am right now. So just to finish off, I'd just give you guys some advice moving forward. I've said it about 15 times so far, but start early, build your network, and use the platforms to your advantage, because they will really help you going forward in your uni career, and then also into your graduate career. Engage with careers and skills. The team have got such a vast amount and varied amount of knowledge and expertise that they can help you with. So just doesn't matter how nervous you are, just make an appointment with one of them. They'll make you feel easy within about 3 seconds of meeting them, and you won't regret it, because they'll help you through with everything. And just lastly, just believe in yourself and your abilities. It's speaking from personal experience, it is quite difficult to you don't think you have these kind of skills and abilities, but through all the different activities that I've engaged with, these have brought these abilities, shone the light on all these abilities, and I've been able to showcase them when I'm doing my interviews for Altair, my interviews for DXC. Just you guys can do it, and with the support of with careers and skills, you guys will be amazing. That's all from me. If you've got any questions, I don't know if there's anything in the chat box.
So I'd like to introduce you to Adam Ray, who's an alumni from the university, and Adam's going to talk about his experience in industry and some of the activities that he engaged in as a student at UWS. I'll hand you over to Adam now.
Yeah, so thanks, Lindsay. So disclaimer, I was not quite as engaged as Gordon was when I was uni, but I wish, I kind of looking at it, I'm like, I wish I was a lot more proactive. I'm just inherently a very lazy lad. So yeah, my name's Adam Ray. I graduated in 2014 from UWS. I studied engineering management at the Hamilton campus, so a throwback that doesn't exist anymore. So I was actually there the other day. That was quite sad. I was kind of like getting all like kind of nostalgic. But yeah, so I graduated in 2014. My current role kind of depends on kind of what day. I wear lots of hats, jack of all trades. I sort of none really. So my day is quite different because I wear a couple of different hats. So I'll just proceed on with these slides. So me currently right now, I'm the founder of a consultancy company called The Other Consultants. As you can see here, we've got a nice little logo for no ties because we're just pretty chilled out and, try not to be those kind of greasy consultants that try and embed themselves in a business and, have to be kind of almost linchpins in them. So with that, we work across a number of industries. So we've got the aerospace, defense, construction, healthcare, life sciences, pharmaceutical, all the way into software. None of that stuff was included in my degree. I had nothing to do with aerospace. I had no clue. So that's kind of one part of my life is the other consultants. So that's very heavily regulated, working in, kind of quite corporate, kind of high level, quite hard stuff. And then the other side of my life is I'm also the founder of a content marketing agency called Blog Writing Services UK. That was founded in a couple of days on a whim with a friend of mine. We kind of came up with the idea on a Tuesday and we're like, oh, this would be really nice if we had that. And then we sprinted it and kind of built the website in about like 3 or 4 days and launched kind of the following week, and then got customers, and it just kind of started taking off, and the reason I kind of put that in there is like that was nothing to do with my degree, but a lot of how we built that business was based upon things that I picked up in my degree, and that the kind of the whole, the real principles of what I learned from my time at UWS kind of really contributed towards it. So whilst it's content marketing, I have no idea about marketing. I had no idea. Everything that I'd done in my degree really was kind of fundamental to being able to start that business, and that real kind of, just a really quick way, literally 5 days. So while we were in university, one of the things I loved about UWS was we got so much exposure to industry. So we were doing engineering management, so very working in manufacturing facilities and stuff like that. So we got to go to the Coca-Cola plant in East Kilbride, which was really cool. So just seeing bottles of Coca-Cola flying about everywhere. That was mad. And we also got to visit the Rolls-Royce factory in East Kilbride. That's obviously now shut down. But they were really key experiences because I'd never been in like a manufacturing facility before. So actually being able to go into this place, even little things like just seeing how a manufacturing facility is laid out, like just being able to have that time and walk into a place and walk around and speak to like a quality manager or an operations manager and pick their brain. And Gordon, I think your kind of discussion was really good because I think you lean very much on building a network and and very early on, which I didn't do, just again lazy, and really lack of awareness. I just didn't think about it at the time. Because if I reflect on it, I would have made more connections with these people at these companies, and then I could have walked into Rolls-Royce, for example, but I just didn't. So that was really good, I think, because we got to view a variety of different organizations. So Coca-Cola, obviously, fast-moving consumer goods. Rolls-Royce, beautiful cars and engines. Absolutely stunning facility. It's like a dream to walk around. Then we also had going out to visit, but then we also had industry professionals that were kind of leading our modules. So our advanced project management module and project management module was just completely led by a project manager in the construction industry who was so sinister, it was hilarious. Because he had such a real look of the world. So he was like, that's just not the way it happens. He had all these books and he was like, nah, this just doesn't work like that. So that was really good because it was super negative at points, but it was all very realistic. It would take you out of that kind of mollycoddle that university kind of somewhat gives us. And he would just give us a real reality check, and one of the best phrases that I've ever learned, and it came from him, was, like a good project manager knows when to quit. And I was like, you don't get that in books, academic books aren't going to say that sort of stuff. Whereas he's like, you need to be assessing the viability of stuff as you're going, and you need to know when to call it, because sometimes you just need to call it. And I just won't forget that, and he was extremely useful coming in to speak to us about it. I've actually connected with him. He was really useful. So that was an example of where, a lot of my friends at Strathclyde University, Glasgow University, who would kind of, look at me at UWS and be like, oh, what's he doing there? They wouldn't have that type of exposure to these industry professionals, because it was very much brought in by our own lecturers doing that off their own back. Then, my dissertation was written based upon working with a fish inoculation company, which I had absolutely no clue about what fish inoculation was. I had no idea. But I got to go out. They were based in Stirling, so I got to go out there and visit all these sites where they would have these crazy machines that would they were basically vaccinating fish, so people could they could be eaten safely. And I wrote my dissertation based on it, and I had no idea about fish vaccination or anything. And I was like a subject matter expert by the time I was done, and that company kind of offered me some work, but I wasn't. It just wasn't really my vibe, I kind of wanted to go into different types of areas. I was like, I don't see this as the way I want to go. I wanted to move away. But again, that kind of leads into the next kind of slide. So what I found, beneficial about having a degree, from UWS, especially the degree that I'd done in particular, I think it was just I think the School of Engineering at UWS is just phenomenal, really phenomenal. The skill and the academic staff is just breathtaking, so I really got a knowledge in critical thinking about how to look at a problem, how to conduct structured problem solving, and evaluate kind of potential scenarios and look at, generally any problem, whether it's fish vaccination or, making engines, and, how to manage that general critical thinking process. I didn't become an expert in anything. I became an expert in general principles, and that kind of allowed me to now walk into really any industry. And then, from that second bullet point, I think again, it made me a generalist. So I wasn't an expert in, one, say, manufacturing material. So then my whole career would be dependent on that one material, and if that material somehow goes bust because of Brexit or any of these, political events and things that happen that are way out of our control, my career can continue because I can just jump around. And that's probably the single biggest thing I've got from it is, I became a generalist, not a specialist. Whereas I think maybe a few years ago, I think the focus was on be an aerospace engineer, be a mechanic, whereas now I think industry seems to be evolving towards become, kind of somebody that can kind of turn the skills to, a bit of anything. And then just a bit build on that, so as a result of that, it's enabled me to work in aerospace, defense, software, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, so manufacturing drugs, manufacturing COVID tests, orthopedic implants, kind of, a bit of everything really. My career has literally touched most industries, and I've seen it all. And, I've spent a few years out in China, work out in Shanghai working with a medical device company because we were moving essentially our entire manufacturing facilities from the UK out to Shanghai. So that was a huge undertaking, which was about 2 years spent doing that over and back and forth from the UK to China, you know. So, and that was dealing obviously, but you get to see a completely different side of the world with different cultures, different working practices, you know, like, and obviously the challenges that come with that, from having parts going all over the world. And then I think, you know, having a solid degree in engineering management enabled me to just kind of walk into postgraduate education really easily, because it's a very reputable degree. I was able to go and do a postgrad with the University of Portsmouth, and that was in strategic quality management. So now I'm 29 years old. I've got a BE in engineering management. I've got a master's degree in strategic quality management. I don't consider myself an academic at all, really. I must be, but I don't consider myself one, because I'm just a more practical. But you know, so then all of a sudden with those 2 degrees, you place yourself far above any competition, because you are, you know, a subject matter expert. And then, you know, for the consultancy company, you know, I don't want to just talk about money, but for the consultancy company, that means you can charge far more money. You know, you can charge much more money because you are a subject matter expert in this stuff, rather than, you know, kind of that just having the kind of basic level of knowledge where you're just kind of a bit generalist. You know, it really allows you to move into whatever you want. So that's again why I say be a generalist, because you can always specialize later, you know, a few years down the line. And I want to share a little anecdote if I've got time. So just on kind of Gordon, if you've got your first day on Monday, my first day so my first, I moved down to England. My first job was a company called Raytheon UK, the big defence company. And I moved country, lived with my mum my whole life until then, and I went into my first job, and I literally wore a 3-piece suit, with a tie clip and everything. So embarrassing. Reflecting on it, is so embarrassing. And I was told to shadow a guy who's called Colin, and I was kind of asking Colin, you know, like, what's the agenda for today? First day, I was like, this is going to be cool, man. I'm going to be like, I'm going to be the coolest guy ever with my suit and stuff. And Colin told me that we're going to go to a meeting, which was an FTRR to gain an MFTP for RR. And I was like, what, mate? Like, what in God's name is this? Right? So like that was pretty much me. So what he meant by that was a flight test readiness review to gain a military flight test permit for rapid response. And I was like, why not just say that? You know, so, and I remember I feel it's an important story to share, because I had so much anxiety that first day, because I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. You know, like, because how can I remember these acronyms? I'll never forget those ones. But businesses are built upon acronyms. And you know, I stayed at that business for 2 years on a leadership development program, and then by the time I was leaving, I'd completely outgrown that business, and I thought every single person I worked with was largely incompetent. Because, you know, but so I went from being a graduate who knew nothing to being in a position where I was like, my skill set cannot be developed enough at this company, you know, just from being on a really good development program and giving myself that time, and not being too anxious about not being good enough, or, you know, what's the real world like, you know. So the summary of that story is like, everyone is making it up, largely from the beginning. Everyone makes it up. Like, I make it up on a daily basis, you know. And I think that just to me was a really pivotal moment in my career, because I remember leaving and I was driving out and Colin was driving out, and I asked him, I was like, what were those acronyms again at the end of the day? And he was like, flight test readiness review for a military flight test permit for rapid response. And I was like, I'm never going to get this, you know. So it just feels like an important anecdote. Advice. The first one there is because I've had some issues with this. Use Google Drive, OneDrive, or, you know, some sort of online cloud system to back up any work that you have, because something will happen. Things do happen. So use stuff like that, because they're free, and it saves you having to engage with a company to try and get all your information off some hard drive that's broke, you know, last minute. It happened to my friend with his dissertation. He had everything on a hard drive. That hard drive broke. He had to rewrite his dissertation in 2 weeks. You know, and it affected his entire degree. So just feel like I just had to put that in. Again, the main theme, be a generalist, learn principles of how things work, you can always specialize later, you know. And the example there being, you know, the principles of project management apply to any project, whether you're making beanbags or whether you're making bombs, you know, it's the same everywhere, you know, as a good project manager. One thing I kind of done that enabled, I think, was a bit of a differentiator with me when I was comparing to other candidates for jobs, was that I used all of my university coursework as a portfolio. So I put it all together basically in a big binder, and I would use that to, when I was in interviews and stuff, and say, this is what I done at uni, this is what I recommend, I think we could use this here. And, you know, so I was essentially able to give them 2 dissertations that were entire research projects on implementing lots of stuff that they needed. And it just kind of gave you that bit of a differentiator to other people, I feel, you know, because they were like, oh, that's, you know, that's really quite a different approach, you know. 5th one, perfection does not exist. You know, so if I had this with, like, you know, all of my coursework, and I even still had it in my postgrad, and I probably still have it now, you know, get 80% done and focus on that 80%. But, you know, you need to know, again, kind of when to call it quits and when you've met the mark. You know, that extra 20% of work effort, you know, is often not worth it. And don't give yourself too much hassle for trying to get things perfect, because it's just never going to happen. And then, Gordon, you covered this, you know, look out for graduate schemes. They're absolutely the way to do it. You know, I think if you can get in with a company, I only applied for 1 job because lazy. But that was the only one I applied for, and fortunately I got it. But, you know, that was great, because this organization invested lots of money into me. You know, by the time I'd left, like, you know, so they're called Raytheon again. So by the time I left, I think they'd spent like £100,000 on my training, because I'd been out to America. They put me through a master's degree, all the other training courses and stuff. So they took me in for 2 years. When I went in, I didn't know what an MFTP, Ferrara, all these acronyms were. By the time I left, I was a fully qualified chartered quality professional, you know. And I think those types of companies are invaluable, because they're big organizations, they have cash to spend, they want to develop you. And then when you've had the initial kind of bout of the graduate scheme, you can then leave and go anywhere, because you've been at a big company, you've had that experience, you've had that training. Or you can stay because it's within their interest for you to stay at that business, because they've invested, you know, so much time and kind of energy into you. So that's really it. I thought that feels pretty flow through. Is there any questions? That's generally it. I think I don't have anything else.
So earlier we heard from alumni from UWS, so we hope that that's inspired you as you start your journey at UWS. And as I had mentioned earlier, please do look at the Graduate Success Story webpage and you can read about some of these stories. So the next part of the session is just to really think about the future of work. So we now want to explore further about the future of work, and it's important for making future decisions about your career. So the landscape's always changing within the workplace, and also higher education within that context. So we've got to adapt to a lot of these changes and advancements within different sectors. So important that as a student that you understand some of those changes and some of the developments. So that could be globalisation, technological processes, there's changes in demographics. So these will very much alter what our understanding of work will look like in the future. We've been carrying out some research into what the future will look like in preparation for this session, and Lindsey's been looking at some content online and going to share some statistics with you just now.
I think that's why we chose these three images. Certainly the one on the left-hand side, the right-hand side here, where it says 65% of today's 12-year-olds will have jobs that don't exist yet. That still amazes me. And I've used this slide when I've been speaking to some of our final year students in the business school, and a lot of them are laughing. But if you think about it, if you know people that are 12-year-olds, you know, family, friends, nieces, nephews, whatever, then if they're 12, by the time they go into work, that'll be 10 years time, maybe 8 years time, when they're 20 to 22. There's going to be jobs that don't exist right now. That's not that far away. That's within, you know, before careers and changes would change drastically, would be maybe 20, 30 years. This is like 8 to 10 years. So it will affect us as well. Everyone here today just starting their degree, but also as you progress in the future. in the world of work. So it is important to keep up to date, and I've heard from our two speakers today that they've had different career paths, but they've also adapted and changed to various and things that have impacted on them. The other slide is, above is obviously the image of automisation, and that's certainly something that could impact on a lot of sectors, and we've got some information that we'll add to our the Careers and Skills webpage, so you can research this kind of further, but we won't go into too much about it today. And certainly, as I mentioned right at the start when we're talking about career planning earlier in the session, you might hold at least 6 or 7 different jobs and careers within your lifetime, and that means that you will have to be adaptable and flexible and be aware of the future changes that can impact through your work and through your career. I'll move on to the next slide, Lindsay.
Yeah, and just some of the accelerating trends as well. Obviously, we've had the coronavirus pandemic as well, so there has been a real advancement in digital skills, and that's across different sectors. So it doesn't matter if you're studying health, you're studying social care, you're studying education. So we've saw a real advancement within digital skills. Some accelerating trends as well, in e-commerce, we've mentioned about artificial intelligence, which is basically intelligence that's delivered by machinery as opposed to humans. So we see that across various different sectors. In prior generations, most of that happened within agriculture and manufacturing, but we're seeing that across a lot of upcoming sectors as well. Times Higher Education has been doing some research into what future jobs will look like, and they've come up with some job titles around data ecologist, gamification consultant, virtual environment engineer as well. So job titles that don't exist now but might actually exist in the future. So we can't predict what every job will look like, but the careers team are here to support you to start to think about what will these sectors look like, engaging in things around innovation, advancing your employability skills, understanding labour market information. So we do have various resources that are available on the Online Careers and Skills Centre, and you can research into some of that labour market information. Careers advisors also run careers conversations, and we run the industry insight. So that's about finding out about upcoming sectors. We did a topic on will a robot take my job, and that was a really interesting concept as well. So, and this is all about helping you be career ready
in the future. Yeah. We've put 2 questions up here, and you might want to think about these, note them down, and maybe go back to them as you progress, certainly through your first year of your time at university here. How will it affect, what will the future job role place be like for your sector? Because it was on social work and for biomedical science. What do you think the future will be? And that's something you might want to think about as you progress through your studies. And then the second question is definitely something that all graduates and all students need to think about, is what skills and attributes will I need to have? Because you will be taught a certain amount of things through your course, but as you progress through your course and as you progress through your career, there may be other skills and things you need to pick up on. And certainly Adam was talking about having done a further study, a master's while he was doing his employment. So these things are things that you might want to tap into as you progress through your degree, and think about them every now and again and reflect on where am I and what will I need to do in the future.
Okay, so when we think about the future of work, have a think about what the future of work will look like in 5 years' time or 10 years' time. So this is something that we can pick up in future sessions that the careers team will be delivering. Have a think about different advancements within your particular sector, and these are certainly things that you'll learn through engagement with the professional bodies on your programme, and you'll learn that from your course leaders as you explore your subject matter further. So if you've attended the previous sessions, you will have heard of the IAM-UWS Graduate Attributes Framework. So all of our programmes at UWS, this is really underpinned by IAM-UWS. So it means I am universal, work ready and successful. So these are the skills, attributes and knowledge that we expect students to demonstrate and develop during their time at UWS. So having a think about, some of these learning aspects of your course as well. So there'll be different things that you engage in through learning. So that'll be problem solving, sorting information, time management, collating information, doing research into different areas. Even if it's writing essays or presenting skills, these are all things that will contribute towards IAM-UWS. I don't know if you want to mention about the research minded professional attributes that we...
Yeah, it's just certainly, and from the two subject degrees that you're studying, your professional bodies will also be a great source of knowledge and experience and information for you as you progress through the degree. So certainly the SSSC, the Social Work Council, the Institute of Biomedical Science, the Society of Biology, lots of professional bodies have student membership, but they also have, and that gives you access to networking events, and it also gives you access to lots of the resources and journals, and it also can be, when you graduate, you can then move into professional qualifications that they may offer. So your professional bodies are obviously a good way to help you develop your skill sets and your specialist skill sets related to your degree and the future career plans.
Okay, so as we think about your future career, there's also the Sustainable Development Goals, which is something that the United Nations have put together. So there's 17 goals that have been adopted by all member states. So if you're thinking about being a global student, then it's about thinking about maybe how your subject or your degree impacts across some of these areas. So United Nations Sustainability Goals is all about improving education, resources available for people, bringing industries together to work collaboratively as well. So have a think about that, and an ethical career as well. So it's about getting fulfilment out of the career that you choose, and also think about, is it a career that you want to make a difference to society? We run sessions on first steps into social enterprise and innovation to help you think about that as well, if that's an area that you want to consider. And now finally we'll move on to the goal setting and action plan. Okay, so the final part of the session is just to think about your action planning. As I've mentioned, obviously these will be recorded. When we spoke about the graduate attributes as well, you might hear the term meta skills that will come up quite often as well. And this is a range of skills that Scotland have did some research into different sectors, and there's various different skills that they expect students to be able to demonstrate. So we'll not go over that in detail this morning, but what we'll do is we'll make that resource available to you as well, and that's something that we covered within the career sessions at UWS. So the next steps after this morning's session is obviously to start goal setting and action planning, really take forward your career planning and your career for the future. So an action plan is a detailed plan outlining the actions needed and the steps that you need to take. So have a think about what your goals are at this stage. So what is it that you want to learn? How am I going to learn that, and what resources will I use, and how will I know that that learning's occurred? So to do effective goal setting and action plan, it's important that you become realistic about your goals. You have a time frame of when you want to achieve these goals by, and you always reflect on that learning as well. So you're always going back to that action plan and updating it with progress. So just to give an example then, you maybe want to improve your digital skills as a student at UWS. So this is helpful ways of thinking about goal development. So use verbs, so action words. So the first thing is, I want to improve. Okay, so to improve, what is it you want to improve? My digital skills. What will be the end product? What will that look like? So you want to demonstrate I am UWS graduate attributes. So when do you want to achieve this? By the end of this academic year. So your statement within your action plan could be to improve my digital skills by the end of this academic year in order to adapt to new ways of learning and working and using technology. Okay, and we'll just move on to the action plan resource. Okay, so this is an action plan resource that we've put together just so that you have something tangible to take away from today's session. So we'll make that available to you as a resource that you can use. So I would suggest you start working on this from early stages as you start your journey at UWS. I know that was something that Gordon had highlighted, the fact that starting to work on developing your employability skills from first year, not just waiting until your final year and you start kind of panicking, maybe think about what you want to do. Make sure that you do engage regularly with the careers team, and we can help you. Certainly our careers advisors work closely one-on-one with students to help them really set their goals and take forward that action planning. So when you set goals, we've mentioned about being specific, making sure that they're achievable, and making sure that they're realistic goals as well, and making sure that they're time-based so that you've got a time frame of when you want to work on those goals, and that's important for your reflection. So for example, what specific skill do I want to develop? So that could be around career planning. So that could be something that you want to start working on already. So your employability skills. So what action will I take to develop this? So this could be engaging in the Careers and Skills website resources, meeting with a careers advisor at the university. Also the fact that you've attended this session today, you've already started to career plan, in particular if you've attended the previous sessions. So when will I achieve this by? So maybe it's something that you want to do, you'll be doing it throughout your time at UWS, but is there a particular area or skill that you really want to advance? So that could be, for example, your innovation skills. So over the next academic year, you want to engage in an innovation award, you want to, attend an industry insight where you're finding out about future trends within a particular sector. And what will this look like? So how will you know that you've developed these employability skills? So that could be things like developing your CV, so you've got something tangible, and that's particularly useful if you're looking for graduate employment when you come to your final year, but also being a current student. So you might be looking for a work placement or an internship, and it's really good to have that CV to highlight to employers, and do make sure that you always update that as well. LinkedIn profiles, obviously what Gordon and Adam had mentioned, and they're pretty active on LinkedIn, and that's really useful for joining different groups, finding out more about professional bodies and networking with other students and employers. And then how will you evaluate, how will you know that you've achieved this goal? So you'll have these tangible things that you can take away. You've started to work on a plan, you've got things in place, and then you're really starting to think about your next steps. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Lindsey?
No, I mean, it's always easy to say just go and do it, but as you heard certainly from Adam and Gordon, different extremes, it's never too early to think about things, and using an action plan just helps you see how you've progressed as well, because as you tick these off and as you meet these actions that you've set, your objectives, then you can think about how much you've progressed even in the first 3 or 4 months of the course, certainly by the end of first year, as you go into second year, that type of thing. So it's always good to have an action plan. It's a part of careers, it's a part of a career planning process, and even now in our jobs we use some sort of action planning to help us develop our skill sets as we progress through our jobs. And we have an annual review, so it is something that you may have to take into the world of work. So it's always good practice to start doing these kind of things as early as you can.
Okay, so thanks very much for joining us this morning. I think we just wanted to highlight finally just about accessing the online Careers and Skills website. So you can find various useful resources on the online Careers and Skills website. You can book an appointment with a careers advisor, and you can book onto our events and workshops. We also do have a weekly newsletter that gets sent out to all students on a Friday, so make sure that you look out for that as well, because you'll be able to find out about some part-time opportunities or volunteering roles that you might be interested in.
So you can access us, I put the web links through the main website, and you can also access us through UWS My Day tile. So thank you very much for coming along today, and I think Lindsey's got a few closing words for you.
Yeah, so thanks very much for coming along to the session this morning, and this recording will be available to you. That will be on the Careers and Skills website. And you'll be able to view the recording, and obviously if you want to listen back to Gordon and Adam's stories, please do look at the Graduate Success Stories webpage, and make sure that you do keep in contact with us throughout your time at UWS. We input to quite a lot of modules in various programmes of study, so you'll see us about if it's online or on campus, so make sure that you do keep in touch. And I think, just good luck with your studies, and we look forward to helping you in your career journey at UWS.
Yeah, thank you, and enjoy your time at UWS.